Jim set them up that way and I undid them.
Want to try an
I guess
experiment?
that works, yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we all have
Yeah,
a,
gotta be comfy.
we try to have a variety of cushions and different things and props. We could call them props, I guess. Yeah, welcome everybody. We have a few new faces here and a lot of familiar faces, so it's all good. How's everybody's practice going, meditation-wise? Does everybody feel like they have one? That's the first step. Yeah. I have a practice, yeah. And that's good. I got a question from somebody yesterday online. You know, I have these students from the teacher training program and things. Even after the people get through the program, they send me emails because they have a certain situation that comes up or a question or something like that. And it's wonderful, you know, to stay connected with the students and things like that, because there's been a lot of them that have gone through, you know, this program. John being one of them, and that was 4 or 5 years ago, wasn't it, when he went through the program? Yeah, the teacher training program. And you know, there's people going through it, you know, getting certified every month, and I haven't even counted how many people, but it's hundreds, you know, hundreds of people. So, and then when they have a question, they send it to me. You know, that's email, right? Everybody knows that language. This is email. And one of them that I received yesterday was a pretty interesting question. The question was, I wish I had my phone actually, but to get it right. But it was, she was going to teach a new course, and she wanted to talk about mantra. You know, the repetition. You know, a mantra is just repeating a phrase, and sometimes it's Sanskrit, could be Pali, or could be English, whatever it might be. You're just repeating it, like, who am I? Who am I? Or, you know, whatever it might be. And she asked if the person, if mantra is designed to start out a person into getting relaxed, and then after they get deeper into their meditation, to just let that go, to let that mantra go. And so that was the question. And my reply was that the mantra is just like the breath. We use these meditation objects to focus the mind, you know, to bring about a certain amount of concentration. And you know, the real instructions, particularly for somebody that is new to meditation, is to use the mantra or use the breath or use the meditation object and come back to it again and again through the entire practice, actually. Otherwise, the meditator can kind of get lost. You know, so we focus on our meditation object, and our mind wanders, of course. And we catch that, and then we bring it back. And, you know, that's really the practice. That's, you know, how simple it really is. And sounds simple anyway. And when we do that, the active mind in the area of thoughts and you know, primarily kind of a lot of restlessness and worry, and we noticed sometimes that there's just so many thoughts of the past and the future, you know, preparation for the future, and worried about things that happened in the past and things like that. And so a lot of that will dissipate after a while when we focus on our object. And again, if somebody's new to meditation, that would be the instructions, you know, and cultivate that, you know, that amount of concentration, and stay with the practice, and notice when the mind settles down, and notice how the body becomes comfortable and the mind stills, that kind of thing. But if a person is a little bit more, that they have a practice and they've been practicing for a while, if they're a little bit more, experienced in meditation, what I would probably do, like as a teacher, is kind of ask them what their experience is, what they're doing. And if they're allowing themselves to put away the breath or put away the mantra, I would want to know exactly what they're doing, cognition-wise, if there is cognition. Are they going deep into concentration and just kind of resting there in these different levels of concentration, where there are no hindrances, there's no difficulties, no problems, and it's just kind of like a training ground for that time, those times in our life when we can be absolutely free from desire, restlessness, and worry, and doubt, and any aversion or anything like that, through concentration. Or are they? The other alternative would be to abide in the pure awareness, just resting in this awareness that is really a part of our true nature, where we're being aware of whether the sensations in the body or the feelings or even our thoughts, that we are aware, that we know that we're aware. And so if a person's not doing either one of those, concentration or pure awareness, they should probably be staying with the breath or the mantra, because otherwise they're just daydreaming, most likely. And so either we're staying with an object, or we're getting better with our concentration, or we're abiding in what seems like our true nature, in this pure awareness. And those other forms of practice are, something that I know a lot of us do, but it's kind of an area where a person probably has a fair amount of meditation under their belt, before they do that. Not in all cases, but in most cases. So if somebody's new to meditation, I always ask them how their practice is going, and I want to hear something about the breath usually, or like the question referred to mantras. Using mantra is fine. Transcendental meditation, everybody's familiar with that somewhat, and that's what they use. But or it could be some other meditation object, like a sound, or something like that. But the idea is to notice, like tonight anyway. The invitation is really to notice where our attention is, and to set that intention in the first place. Are we going to stay with the breath? Are we going to stay with our meditation object? Or are we going to, are we versed in going into deep concentration, or resting in awareness? Like choiceless awareness or pure awareness. There's different words for it. Alternatively, there are practices like metta, the metta practices. And some people will use that for their entire practice as well. Or some way of, also some way of using the breath, like counting the breath. Some people will count the breath in their meditation practice, and they'll do it their entire lives. And there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe we can, if we have any questions about that after we're done meditating, we'll see if there's any questions about any of that. But if there are any burning questions right now, please ask, because you don't want to take those into your meditation with you. Any questions about meditation at all, or anything for that matter?
I have a question. Like when you're talking about this, like the different types or disciplines of it, like concentration and
Awareness.
right. Well, you call them different. Are they different? They're all different types, right? Like
It's
transcendental and.
yeah, transcendental is like a form of meditation.
So I mean, they're all different forms, and they're just practiced differently.
Different objects, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like the breath. To me, I could talk about the breath all night long, and it would be the same as a mantra, just because that's the object that we're coming to. object of, you know, and the funny thing, you know, being a Buddhist, I guess I have to call myself a Buddhist. I'm a Buddhist minister, but it kind of goes hand in hand, right? But the Buddha never talked about mantra. He talked about the breath, but he didn't talk about mantra. And he talked about concentration and these types of things, but he talked about using the breath, and he said that breath can take us all the way. And so when I heard that, I decided to use the breath, and usually when I teach and talk about meditation objects, I refer to the breath. But you know, some other teacher might just as well talk about, you know, mantra or anything else, and it's all very much the same as far as being the object. What would be another object, you know, John?
A few weeks ago, I recall you elaborate. Could you elaborate a little bit on it? You mentioned using like running water or the sound of a stream or rain or something.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we can use sound as a meditation object if it's consistent. Also, the funny thing about sound and visualizations too is that we can also use you know, variations of awareness with that as well. So we can be aware of that sound that's happening, and use that as our object. So, because in other words, we have to come back to something. Otherwise, it's, you know, it's like we have to come back, period, you know, to this object. And it could be sound, it could be a mantra, it could be the breath, it could be visualization, and there's lots of practices, and tantric is one of those visualization practices. And when we get into tactile sensations and the feelings and stuff, we're kind of going into this place of awareness, where we're aware of these sensations in the body. Like we can be aware of these, you know, there's feelings and moods and emotions and these sensations, and that's kind of an area where we're aware and we know that we're aware. There's that knowing behind it. And usually meditation objects are like objects themselves. You know, like the words are an object, the breath is an object. You know, something that somebody right off the street could relate to pretty much. You know, like a sound is an object, if it's consistent. That's why like a barking dog really bothers a lot of people, because they hear a bark and they go, oh, that dog, when's it gonna bark again? It's gonna bark soon, you know, and then I'm waiting for the bark, you know, and then it'll bark. Ah, there it is, you know, and that can raise havoc in some people's meditation. But some people feel like that bark brings them back, you know, like, oh. In other words, if they feel like the bark brings them back, it really means that they were kind of out there daydreaming in a way too. I don't know, does that answer your question, John? I kind of fluttered off.
You had mentioned that you use like maybe a stream of running water.
Yeah, yeah. On the Insight Timer app, there's a waterfall or something, some kind of running water stream. I think it's called stream.
Eternal stream, I think. it's
Eternal
called.
stream. It's got to be eternal stream. Yeah. And I've been using that for years, you know, just to kind of drown out some of the other sounds, you know, in the world. And I have, I hear sounds. My hearing is, I hear the sounds of silence all the time, and it's loud, you know, with my tetanus, or not tetanus, tinnitus, thank you. And so I hear sounds all the time. I can tune in on those sounds if I want. Sometimes I'll do that in an airplane. Sit right next to that jet engine, you know. Of course, it's outside of the cabin, but it's still loud. And I can still hear that sound, you know, in my ears. And I heard one teacher call it the sounds of silence. And I go, oh, that's me. I got that, you know. Everybody know what I'm talking about? There's a lot of nods, yeah. So you can hear that, hear the ocean. It's like when you pick up a seashell, you know, oh, that's the ocean. You know, but you're just hearing that white noise, basically, yeah. So you can use that as a meditation object too. It's something to come back to. Oh, Paul Barrett is not with us because he's at home. He's got some allergy situation. So he said he's going to watch us on the stream. So some of you probably don't know what the camera and thing is about, but we stream on YouTube so that anybody, anywhere in the entire world can tune in and watch and meditate with us. I don't know how exciting it is. I haven't tuned in myself. But if somebody tunes in to watch me meditate for 30 minutes, it's not going to be too exciting. But the idea is for this. I'm talking to the people in the camera here. The idea is for you to meditate while we're meditating. I want to point that out. And it's about usually about tonight. It'll be about a 35-minute meditation. We go until 8 o'clock our time, Arizona time, and then I ring the bell. Okay. I think that should be closed. You want to close it? If it's bothering. So again, the invitation is just to really know what we're doing. You know, set the intention. If we're using the breath, use the breath. If we're sitting in awareness, fine. If we're using the breath to consciously take us into concentration, you know, like purposely take us into deep concentration, we can do that. But we just want to know what we're doing. And if you're new to meditation, by all means, you know, listen to the instructions that I give in the beginning here. And it'll have to do with using the breath as a meditation object. Just a few moments of guiding. I think most of us understand that the silent meditation is what we could consider the most powerful aspect of meditation. And what we do here is a little bit of guiding to help people relax into the practice a little bit, relax in their meditation. Sometimes it's just something to listen to. Sometimes the meditators will completely block out what I'm saying, which is fine. And sometimes the beginners can learn a few pointers to help them in their practice this evening, just by listening to the guiding. So with the eyes closed, the back fairly straight, we want to be relaxed in our posture. We want to be balanced, both forward and backwards and left and right. Sometimes we want to remind ourselves to lift the chin slightly, just to keep the energy flowing. It's always a good idea to just bring our attention to the body and notice how it feels. Have any new aches and pains tonight? Are we comfortable in our posture, on our cushion or chair? Some people give the body quite a bit of attention in their meditation practice. And some people like to have the body just get out of the way as soon as possible. But most everybody likes to have the body comfortable. So we want to be comfortable with energy within the body. We need energy in our meditation. And that's one of the reasons it's beneficial to use the breath in our meditation practice. We can notice the energy coming into the body when we breathe in, and then the relaxation of the body when we breathe out. Energy coming in as we breathe in, relaxation as we breathe out. Just do this on your own for a while, just feeling that. Usually the mouth is closed, we're breathing through the nose. Not manipulating the breath in any way, just gently breathing in and breathing out. So keeping our attention on the body somewhat, that includes the breath. Notice where you feel the breath. Notice the breath and just kind of relax into it. Just know that it's there. And know that you now have a place of focus, a place that you can rest your attention. Wherever you feel the breath the most in the body. So we just want to be there as much as we can. And even that alone is much like coming home, being with the breath, giving ourselves permission to set aside any or all thoughts if we want. Complete acceptance of resting the mind. Letting go of any kind of desire or grasping or wishing things to be different than they currently are. Just doing the simple practice of focusing on the breath at this moment. If we have any difficulty staying with the breath, we can count the breaths in any manner you wish. Maybe count up to 10 and then back down to 1. But when you notice your attention has wandered off, just simply note that. Just tap it with your awareness. And then come back to the breath. And when we tap it with awareness, it's really a form of letting it go. Nothing that can serve us at this moment, not during our meditation practice. Our mind wanders off into the past or future, and we accept that. Give ourselves permission to just let it go and come back to the breath. Maybe we want to pick it up after the meditation, maybe not, but not now. And this is the simple practice of breath meditation. Bring our attention back to the breath if we're using that as our meditation object. Just take a deeper than normal inhalation. Really feel the breath coming in. Again, think of it as energy. And just being as aware as possible of our surroundings and the body, the room, the space. And then using that awareness to just kind of check in and see where we went with our meditation. Thank you. We'll recite the Loving Kindness Sutra. Does everybody have a copy of this? Looks like it. And this is a sutra that the Buddha gave some monks that were meditating in the forest, and they were afraid of evil beings in the forest, and the Buddha gave them this as ammunition to go back into the forest and said, "Here, go back and get them, guys." And they used this sutra to calm the demons, and it seemed to have worked. That's the short story. So we'll recite this together. To attain the state of peace, one skilled in goodness should be able, upright, perfectly upright, gentle in speech, kind, and free from pride, contented, easily satisfied, with limited duties and unburdened livelihood, controlled in senses, discreet, reserved, and not blindly attached to groups. One should not commit the slightest wrong, that the wise might censor, wishing, may there be happiness and security, may all beings be happy. Whatever beings there are, whether feeble or strong, tall or short, large, medium or small, microscopic or mammoth, leaving none. Seen or unseen, living near or far away, born or to be born, may all beings be happy. Let one not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere, neither in anger nor in ill will should one wish another harm. Just as a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so, one should cultivate a limitless concern for all living beings. Extend loving kindness throughout the world, without limitation, above, below, and across, free of obstruction, enmity, or hostility. Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, one should diligently sustain this mindfulness. This is called sublime living. Without holding narrow views, but being endowed with broad vision, and avoiding attachment to sense desires, the virtuous are not born again into this world. May each one of us and all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. May no harm come to us, may no difficulties come to us, and may we meet with spiritual and worldly success, and may we have the patience, the courage, and the understanding to meet and overcome any problems or any difficulties that we might face in life. Thank you, everyone. A very quiet group. It was extremely quiet in here tonight. It was nice. At least it was to me. I block out the airplanes. I don't hear those anymore. So we for the people that haven't been here before, this is the easy part, you know. The meditation, well, maybe the meditation's the easy part, and then listening to what we're going to be saying here for the next few minutes is the hard part. But we set aside a few minutes to see if there's any questions or anything that we want to share, and you know, so if nobody says anything, I just kind of ramble on sometimes. And, it's been working for the last 8 or 9 years, so I don't know. We haven't changed the format much. So, I hope everybody, you know, kind of made their intention when they started meditating, and did that help? Kind of clarify, you know, what we're doing. It doesn't take much. Sometimes we do that all the time without really noticing, you know, that we know what we're going to do in our meditation. But I think there's a lot of people that don't. They're not very almost like strict with themselves. That's maybe too harsh of a word, because meditation's supposed to be nice and easy, you know. But I think there's some people that really don't know. They don't set that intention. They just they sit and maybe notice the breath for a while, then they let the mind wander around, and maybe they get some housework done while they're meditating, or homework done, or, you know, whatever, you know. You know how the mind is. It just goes into these areas and figures things out, fixes things, or wishes it was doing something else, you know. Past and future based things. But when we feel like we're doing a good meditation, then we're in that sweet spot, you know, that area where it feels like everything's working out really well. And that can be, if we're not comfortable in our posture in the body, you know, that can be a problem. We've all experienced that. And when the sensations of the body kind of moves away, you know, and we can work with the mind a little bit. We notice that the thoughts have settled down somehow. They don't pop up, you know, as aggressively as they have before. Then we get a chance to really go inside and see what it's all about, you know, inside of us. And seemingly inside of us, you know, we go in to understand ourselves more, and you know, kind of what makes us tick in a way. And a lot of times what we're doing actually is allowing, you know, to use a Sigmund Freudian term, the subconscious to come up, and allowing us to see some of that. And so it's between that and just the idea of these truths of life that we encounter, that we can call insights. And that's one of the aspects of meditation, is the clarity of mind that comes up. And so we can learn from that, but we can also learn from meditation by just the basic idea of it relieving stress. You know, when we talk about the benefits of meditation, that's the first thing that comes up, the stress release. And particularly when we think of all the different things that are related to the stress that we have in our life, the problems, you know, with the physicality and the mental, you know, problems that we have with stress. Any kind of reduction of stress is definitely a gift, you know. And if we can do that without grasping onto things out in the world that kind of seem to relieve that temporarily, if we can do that by going in and finding what I feel is the real McCoy, you know, inside of us, and discovering that, using that to relieve any kind of stress or tension, or allowing us to figure out our own persona, our own life, you know. It's well worth it. A very simple practice that works. Any questions or anything? Any comments from anybody?
So in Transcendental, they just repeat the same mantra mantra the whole meditation? Is that what they do?
Yeah, they're given a mantra by their teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I don't know how it works exactly, but that's part of the fee as being in transcendental meditation. It can, you know, it can be costly for some people to be a part of that, and that cost in a way is very good because it makes people feel as if this is really something. I'm really something, you know, and they're given a mantra. It's usually like a Sanskrit word. And it's a secret mantra. You can't share it with, not supposed to share it with anybody, because if you do, then it loses its power.
It's like a sentence or just one word?
Usually a sentence.
Okay.
Yeah. Om Mani Padme Hum. I mean, that's a Tibetan one. That is a Sanskrit Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. That, and sometimes it really doesn't matter what the mantra means, literally. It's just that you have that tool to work with, that repetition of that phrase. And so we can, you can create one, as long as it doesn't, a mantra works better when it doesn't have great meaning for us.
I kind of do like one sometimes if I'm having a hard time concentrating, I'll do like breathe in, peace, breathe out, let go.
Mm-hmm.
Over
Yeah.
and over and over.
Yeah. The mantra "let go" is a pretty common one, especially for people that are hanging on to crap. There's so much stuff that people hang on to unnecessarily. They feel like it's very important. So, there was one of the confusion when I first started meditating. Well, it was after I started meditating a little bit, but the big thing was inhale blue and exhale pink. No, inhale pink and exhale blue, I think it was. Inhale pink and exhale blue. Then you can visualize the colors, and it was just something that everybody was doing for a while. The thing about transcendental meditation and why it works is because you're asked to do it 20 minutes in the morning and 20 minutes at night consistently. So if you do anything consistently on a daily basis, you're going to get good at it. Anything. And there's been studies on that, but that's why the consistency in meditation is very important. For us to have a place at home, wake up in the morning and I know exactly where I'm going to go meditate. We can just go do it. Or some people like to meditate at night, and some people do both, which is wonderful too. But that consistency is really important. And then we notice the benefits, and then our practice usually gets longer if we're not a slave to the timer. And what I mean by that is sometimes you just have to throw your timer away and forget about it, because if you're like, I see myself doing it, you set the insight timer for a certain time, and then I'm going to meditate, and you push the button, and you just assume that that's the best time for you, that 45 minutes, hour, half hour, whatever it might be is the ideal time, but it's better to mix it up.
You think it's good to do it in the morning and the night?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah, when the sun's coming up and when the sun's going down, perfect times. Yeah. I don't always get a chance to meditate at night, except when I'm teaching, so that's wonderful. But like this morning, half hour this morning, and then 40 minutes tonight. Yeah. We used to do 3-hour meditations in this room, in the old room before that wall was taken down. We called them long sits. The first time we did it was on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And I thought, well, I'm going to be sitting here by myself and Friday afternoon, but we would have sometimes as many as 12, 13, 14 people in here. Sit here for 3 hours. And, that's a pretty important shift in somebody's practice. You know, if you're practicing like 30 minutes a day, then you come in and hit it hard for 3 hours in the middle of the afternoon, it really makes some shifts in you. And that's when people notice some changes, such as concentration, like we were mentioning before. Find it easier to go into the deeper concentrations because the mind just says, I'm out of here. You know, there's nothing happening here. I'm just going to go off. So it works. So I want to see everybody meditating for 3 hours tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. But thanks for the question, Mark. You always have good questions. I got a call from my Google representative today, and I asked him where he's calling from, and he said they're calling from India, and he was telling me all these. He was helping me out with an AdWords account, and he was looking at my website, and he was looking at these different, and he said, "It looks like you've done a lot of traveling." And I said, his name was Arjun, and I said, I have, but I was supposed to go to India 3 times and it was canceled. 3 times. He goes, what happened? And one time I was supposed to go there with a group of people from my friends from Thailand. We were going to meet there, and it fell through. And then I was going to go there with some Indian friends, Joe and Devish. And that fell through, never made it to India again. And then I was going to go there with Bhante Dhammika from the Buddhist temple. Some of you know or remember Bhante Dhammika. And he was going to give me the whirlwind, showing all of India and all of Sri Lanka in a week. I don't know how he's going to do that, but it would have been exciting. And that fell through too, so. But he started telling me all these different spiritual places in India that you just walk down the street and there's somebody teaching over here, and you go in there, you listen to him for a while, and you go, oh, it's kind of like shopping. And then you go across the street and listen to this person teaching, and he said it's very interesting. So he sent me, this Google representative, and he sends me all these links, to check out all these sites and stuff related to India. A really nice conversation. But he thought, basically, he thought we should be over there, because his meditation is big over there, And I told him I'll get there sometime. He said, yeah. But
They're mostly Buddhists, sir?
no, well, no. There's a little bit more than there were 100 years ago, but it's mostly Hindu. Of course, Buddhism started in India, and it was prolific for quite a while, and then it kind of died back. But now Buddhism is more popular. It's quite popular right now. The Buddha, he said that after he dies, there'll be a 5,000 year period where, from the point he dies, that Buddhism will almost die off, and then it'll come back, and it'll peak about 2,500 years after his death, which is right now, and then it'll die down again, and then that's when Buddha Maitreya will appear. So we have about 2,500 years for the next Buddha to come up. Buddha Maitreya is the Metta Buddha, actually, the course that we just recited, and he's supposed to show up, and then I guess that the whole cycle will start again, if we're lucky, if we're. So that was a a prediction that the Buddha had, which was pretty interesting. I would like to see, not necessarily. I think spirituality is very, very popular now, even more so than it used to be. I mean, the correct kind. There's always been the spirituality of going to church and washing away your sins, and then doing whatever you want during the week, and then going back to church and next Sunday and washing them away again, that kind of thing. But I mean, the spiritual practice is where we remain spiritual, where we try to remain mindful, and we practice meditation, or we understand more about ourselves and what consciousness and awareness is, and these kinds of things. With the technology that we have, these teachers like, all the non-dual teachers and teachers like Eckhart Tolle and Adyashanti and the Buddhist Bhante Gudaransana and Thich Nhat Hanh, all this media, all this stuff is available for us, and it's wonderful. I'm kind of a YouTube junkie, as far as when my refrigerator breaks, I go to YouTube, But when I want to hear somebody give a good spiritual teaching, and I don't have time to read, I'll go to YouTube. And just more recently, I noticed that there's certain teachers, and you might want to try this. When you click on the YouTube, I'm not promoting YouTube or anything like that, but it sounds like it. But when you click on the YouTube translation, what they're speaking comes up on the side. And oftentimes I'll be listening to a teaching, and they'll have a different accent or something like that, and it just doesn't seem to resonate with me. Just doesn't seem to be working. I'll completely turn off, the video and just read what they're saying, and lots of times it makes a definitely a much heavier impact, easier to understand, much more comprehension by reading the words. That's not true with all the speakers, all the teachers, but with a lot of them, or some of them, I should say, it is. So you might want to try that. And sometimes you just read along with what they're saying too, but it's very interesting. That is, if you're sitting in front of your computer at your desktop. Otherwise, it's a little bit hard on the phone, which is where most of the views come from. But anyway, the point is that there's a lot of opportunities to learn, and a lot of opportunities to practice, a lot of opportunities to grow. Period. In our spiritual practice and spiritually, and I think we should be taking advantage of them. This next Buddha that the Buddha Shakyamuni, or whatever we want to call him, that he predicted the next Buddha Maitreya. Can we just imagine what the world would be like in 2,500 years from now? I mean, it's not going to be a Buddha, dressed like this. Probably it'll be somebody in a spacesuit. Probably, I don't know. And so we should, be open to just about everything that comes up out there. See everything as a morsel of spirituality, and really how that works is realizing that, if we're kind of swimming in this stream of consciousness, and it's like, from our perspective, it feels like I'm here and I'm conscious and I'm looking at you, and there's space between you and I, and you're conscious, but it's not that way at all. I mean, it's like there's this which is conscious, and there's you that is conscious, and there's everything in between is consciousness as well. And it just is what it is. And every thought, everything that we do affects everything else. It's like, like I use the word that, like swimming in this stream of consciousness. It's like if this room was filled with consciousness, and one person does something like this, it really affects everybody. Something that simple. That's really a definition of my definition of karma, anyway. how we can be affected by these waves of karma, by words and thoughts, actions of all types, actions of body, speech, and mind. So. What's next, Mark? Any questions from anybody at all? Anything about your meditation that came up, or? I wish I could see the questions on the stream, but we don't have that technology yet, but we're working on it.
Maybe when the next Buddha comes, you can do it.
Yeah, 2,500 years we'll have it down, yeah. Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. I mean, sincerely, thank you for coming here. And a lot of people ask if this is where I live, and it isn't. It's the center right now. It was a 3-bedroom home. This was one of the bedrooms that right here. That was a sunken living room that got filled in. Back here is where I meet with people individually, one-on-one sessions. And then on the other side of that is a master bedroom. And there's usually somebody staying here, especially this time of year because of the spring training, the baseball season. So there's a lot that people want to be in Mesa this time of year. After March, they don't care. They don't care about Mesa. But right now, they want to be in Mesa. So there's people that stay here, and they're welcome. So thank you, everybody. One thing, there are some flyers that I'm trying to. There's a rack right there with different flyers. There's a retreat coming up, and there's some other workshops coming up. And also there's some new, every other Tuesday, starting April 2nd, are some classes happening in here. And that's a flyer that I'm going to be putting out there. So, okay, thank you, everybody. Nice meeting you, new people. Thanks.